how nice to be with you here. I wanted to ask you about NFTs.
Non-fungible tokens, yes,
Yes,
NFTs.
I mean, they're very new to so many people, even finance professors and finance professionals. What are NFTs, Carol?
Well, to be really specific, a non-fungible token is just a smart contract. But then if I say that, then people say, what's a smart contract? And it's a specific type of smart contract. So a smart contract is a piece of code that's self-executing that gets put on a blockchain. Hopefully you know more or less what a blockchain is. I'm not going to go into that. But the smart contract for a non-fungible token is a certificate of ownership. So, for example, it could be a bit of a Dali painting, a fractionalized ownership, because you can't afford the whole Dali painting, but you can at least invest in a tenth of it or something like that. Or it could be an album that music artists make, or it could be a piece of land, either in virtual reality or in augmented reality. So the whole of Earth has been pixelated by about 3 different companies, and I've bought Brighton Pier.
What a good idea.
20 quid.
Yes. Well, one of these days, I'm sure I'll be strolling down there with some goggles on.
Yeah. Eventually, you know, some of the land NFTs, I don't know whether Tiliarus, that's the one that I bought it with, is going to be a success, or whether these things will actually ever exist in the future.
20 quid.
Exactly.
Yes.
Bottle of wine.
So, what's the market for these things? Has it grown? Is it substantial?
Yes, well, it goes up and down with the whole crypto market. So if we find that the manipulation of Bitcoin, which is basically what's driving the whole thing, large institutions are now coming into the traditional market makers. Alameda Research, for example, has just been decimated probably by one of the large, Jane Street or Jump Trading or DRW, you know, the big professional traders go in there, and because manipulation, you know, spoofing, layering, and that is, you get put in prison. I mean, lots of people have. JP Morgan chief executives have been in prison for life for encouraging their trading team to do this sort of thing. But out in the Wild West, where there's no regulation, there's no hold bars. So these guys, they just use Bitcoin, and then everything follows with it. And of course, it's traded on these really fragmented markets. So you can trade the Bitcoin Tether Perpetual on 5 different exchanges, and then you can arbitrage your strategies with, it's just, anyway, the point is, getting back to NFTs, that the prices of NFTs are relatively stable in Ether, which is, because the Ethereum blockchain is what's used to carry most of them. The currency, the native token for Ethereum blockchain is called Ether, which is the sort of second cryptocurrency to Bitcoin. So in Ether terms, the prices are relatively stable. So for example, CryptoPunks and Bored Ape, what we call the floor price, which is the last traded price, is around 200 Ether, which at the moment is about, $1,500 per Ether. So I can't do maths at this time in the morning, but you know, that amount.
Yes. And so what's the kind of size of the whole market? Is it possible to get an estimate for that?
Well, in terms of sales, for example, historically, I mean, they only started, CryptoPunks was the first one in 2017, and they were actually airdropped free to the original community. It's very much a community thing. And I'm just talking here about personal profile pictures. So CryptoPunks is perhaps the most well-known. One of them went for $23 million, that is.
I see why you made an analogy with a Dali painting.
Yeah. Well, actually, Dali is a little bit better than CryptoPunks. So these are just little pixelated things, you know. And then there's the me bits, which are what we call metaverse ready. They've already got voices, and they're already 3-dimensional. So these things are going around. But anyway, in terms of the size of the market, so just on the terms of PFPs, CryptoPunk sales to date is in excess of 2 billion just on that one collection, and there must be thousands. There's new collections of like 10,000 different avatars for use in the metaverse are being minted every few days. When it comes to the other NFTs, I think, can't remember exactly, but in 2021, 21 billion in sales in total, something like that. It was on my slides anyway in the talk I just gave.
I mean, that I could see in that talk when you had that slide up, everybody was sitting up and looking at each other, because you start to realise this is a market that investors can actually use.
Yeah, I mean, OpenSea, which is the main marketplace, was just valued at 13.3 billion. They've only been going a few years.
It's extraordinary that
I know.
folk don't know more about it.
Yeah.
So how do you see the future in this? How do you see the future of this market developing?
Well, there's so many different types of NFTs. I've just been talking about the generative art, a little bit about land, but then there's and a bit about music, but there's things like tickets for events, and more or less everything is going to become an NFT, not necessarily something that's an investable asset. For example, yeah, you may have a secondary market in football tickets, but hopefully you won't have a secondary market in your passport or
Good
your medical
Lord.
records.
Yes,
But
yes.
everything, well, because it's an immutable, the whole thing about the blockchain is that once it's minted, it can't be changed in these public blockchains. So that makes it impossible to forge. And also you can check records. With the consensus will check identical records if somebody tries to duplicate these things. So I think it makes a lot of sense that health records, that your birth certificate and passport and so forth. But what's quite frightening, I think, is that now the visionary who started Ethereum, Vitalik Buterin, who really is just this crazy guy, he's like 25 now or something, but when he was 20 he started this whole thing. He's originally Russian but lives in America, and he talks at 100 miles an hour and thinks at even faster rates and makes these long videos that he's just way ahead of the field. But he's really concerned about things called soul tokens, which you can just imagine if you sell your soul. Well, honestly, so it's not just going to be your birth certificate and your school grades and your attendance records and your music exams and whether or not you won a pony club
Yes, the
competition.
fundamental data of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, all bound up into your soul token. So, for example, if you apply for a job, you have to give your soul token. Can you imagine?
Goodness, that sounds terrifying.
It does sound terrifying. So once I've stopped this very, very busy phase, I need to look into that. There's a lot of action groups in America. You see, over in Europe we don't hear so much about this, but on the west coast of America, that's where the sort of Silicon Valley and Miami and areas like that. I mean, a lot of what's happening is really frightening, and regulators are just way, way behind.
Yes, goodness. So from buying a Bored Ape to selling your soul. Goodness me, where's the world going?
Who knows?